everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the notify button so you know when you're getting new episodes. And we just want to grow this project. I thank you in advance. Without further ado, let's get it rolling. The ShOUT Show. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. Happy Friday. We made another one. I think that's something to be proud about. Also, this is the end of the political convention. So the GOP had their political convention and light show last night. The Democrats are done. So now we're going to get back to life a little bit. So I thought, because I've been going a little dark on topics this whole week, I thought I'd do part of my Friday Funnies, if you will, and it was a throw out to people I used to make jokes about, people I used to make fun of. And some of those people, now I realize that I've gotten older, that maybe I shouldn't have made fun of these people so much. Today, brothers and sisters, and before we get started, let me welcome people who are coming to the show for the first time. Welcome. We hope that you have a good time, and hope that you enjoy the topic. That's number one. Number two is, for my shout-out family, my shout-out soldiers, people like Sister Ree. Ree, thank you for coming on the show. Hope you're feeling well. And everybody else that comes and supports the show. Listen, thank you for making this happen. This is the only reason I show up, believe me. If nobody showed up, I'd probably be doing the show by myself. But listen, today's topic, I need you to not close your eyes, but, just meditate for a minute and go back a couple years. Go back a couple years. They were in college. They were in grad school. They were in high school. They were in junior high. And some of them were definitely in elementary school. Today, I'm revisiting the concept of nerds. Now, when I say nerds, some of y'all are going to get offended, and that's okay if you get offended. Because I realize now nerds make the world go round. And I believe at this particular time, some of the problems that you're seeing in the world is that we didn't love and coddle nerds back in the day. When I say love and coddle nerds, nobody really celebrates nerds. I remember somebody made a joke about me. They said I look like a cross between Malcolm X and Steve Urkel, like they had a child. And I took offense to it because, Malcolm X was my guy, but Steve Urkel was not my guy. I didn't want to be recognized as Steve Urkel at all. And I know, brothers and sisters, when you look at it, Steve Urkel was a lovable guy. He was a lovable nerd. But I started thinking about some of the people in my career, not so much my career, but let's just say in my school path, because that's where you first actually ran into nerds. Is that true? You ran into nerds in your school path. You found these people. You didn't know why they were so I don't want to say weird, but they were definitely different. And I have to go back and celebrate this a little bit because in elementary school, brothers and sisters, in high school and junior high school, because of our level of maturity, we couldn't really celebrate that there were people who thought differently. Let me say this again. We couldn't celebrate people who thought differently. We were such tied into the wisdom of the crowd, how we dressed, how we did our hair. I can't tell you how many brothers I knew burn up all their hair trying to put in wave kits back in the day. And back in the day, if you had nappy hair, you had nappy hair, but you had chemicals to fix it. I look back now and I go, we didn't embrace these people. We ostracized them. I, as not a comedian at the time, but a funny guy, I made all kind of jokes about nerds. I said things that were hurtful. I made jokes about guys who showed up to play Dungeons and Dragons. But in my wisdom, when I got later into high school, There was a guy who was a nerd, and I'm here to tell you that I terrorized this guy. Let's just say I'm not gonna call him out, but I terrorized this guy. He took the worst of it from me. He was a target, brothers and sisters. I'm not saying I bullied him, but I targeted this guy every time I saw him. And I realized that part of the reason that I targeted this man was in many regards the things I joked about were the things I didn't possess in myself. He was a nerd, quote unquote, but doggone it, he was the smartest one in school. And while we laughed at him that the girls didn't like him, and we thought that he had, gender issues back in the day, I'll leave it at that. What did we fail to recognize? What did I fail to recognize then was that this was a man who took his education seriously. He was a guy that got us angry because he got good grades on his test and it ruined the curve for the rest of us that didn't study. He was a guy that knew the answers. He was a guy that prepared for the test. He was a guy, you know what? When he tried to explain something, he wasn't condescending. It's just that he knew exactly what he was talking about and the rest of us didn't. We called this guy all kinds of things. We called him a nerd. I used to call him part of the Jelly Box Sandwich crew because nerds stick together. And it occurred to me, my senior year, I had a course that I had to take. And even though I studied, brothers and sisters, I just didn't get it. I didn't get it. And my teacher at the time said, listen, you need this GPA so you can play sports. He said, I got the perfect guy for you to help you out. And who was the guy? It was the nerd. Now, brothers and sisters, if the nerd turned his back on me, and I won't say his name, but I'm going to say thank you. But if he turned his back on me, I deserved it. If he refused to work with me, I deserved it. If he said, I would rather see you fail, and he threw his hands up, I deserve it. But he didn't. He said, despite everything that you say about me, he said, I know it's jokes. He said, you're a funny guy. He said, I'm a smart guy. Then he said, you're not so smart. He said, however, I believe in education. He said, my dad is a professor. My mom is a teacher. We believe in education. He said, and if I were to leave you, abandon you at this time, and not offer you any kind of help, he said, it would be to the detriment of my relationship with my parents because they raised me to be able to study and help people. And so with the assistance of this man who I've been calling a nerd since the 7th grade, in 12th grade, believe it or not, he was able to explain to me advanced theories in chemistry that helped me get through chemistry. And not only get through chemistry, brothers and sisters, but actually understand what I was talking about. He took no money. He took no credit. He took none of that. What he said was, number one, though you tease me, he said, both of us are black. I didn't tell you it was a black nerd. You do have black nerds. He said, both of us are black. He said, it bothers me that you're not in a position to take advantage of the education that's offered the same way I am. And I was like, ooh, that kind of hurt. I was like, are you, seriously, Satana, are you a nerd? All right, cool. Well, let me tell you about this nerd. When they used to have college days, the college recruiters would come to the school. I'm going to tell you about this guy. I'm not going to say his name. He might be watching, but I love this brother. Him and his brother were nerds, but he was the smartest guy. When you have colleges come to visit, like all the big schools come to visit, and you go to your college, your guidance counselor will hook you up, okay. This guy was so smart. Harvard came to school to just speak to him. Let me say that again. Harvard came to school just to speak to him. And he went on to leave and go to Harvard and not only do well at Harvard, but by his junior year, he developed this whole program, brothers and sisters. And we're talking about basically 1985. This whole program for track switching, and it was such a complete program that Amtrak hired him as a paid intern for the next 2 years, and they paid him and financed to start his own company with them being his number one customer. Brothers and sisters, nerds make the world go round. Yeah, I can tell jokes, but there are nerds, brothers and sisters, who are going to come up possibly with the next vaccine for COVID. Some of them have come up with vaccines for cancer. And what I'm saying here is, as well as apologizing for calling these people nerds and terrorizing them over the years, is you can't judge people. We can't judge people. That is, somebody may be different. It doesn't mean that they're not talented. It doesn't mean that they're not skilled. And more importantly, it doesn't mean that they don't have feelings. So for any nerd from elementary school to college to grad school, anybody I may feel badly because I tease you for being smart, I tease you for not being the in part, part of the in crowd, or I just teased you because it was easy, because you look different and you sound different, I want to apologize. I want to apologize. Because in my mind, nerd people, nerd folks are trendsetters. They are trendsetters. And some of the bravest people that you can think about, because they go out there with no protection of being popular, no protection of having a group around them, except other nerds. They go out with this solitary idea that I believe in something and I'm very, very good at it, even if it's just being a nerd. And we laugh at these people. Traditionally, we have laughed at these people. But ironically, some of the people that we laughed at, whether you want to admit it or not, they're very powerful people right now. They are extremely powerful people. Think about it. Think about this. Bill Gates. If you look at Bill Gates, I'm talking about really look at Bill Gates. You know, in high school, in junior high school, in elementary school, he either got bullied or people branded him as a nerd. What's the difference now? It's because he owns pretty much every computer mainframe system in Windows? Yeah. Look at Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is not a sexy man. He's not an attractive man. But he's attractive now because Warren Buffett makes a lot of money. And despite him even saying he's a nerd, he makes a lot of great decisions that make a lot of people money. So here I am, sitting in front of a computer, telling jokes, speaking on the events of the day. Damn it, I could have been a nerd. I could have been president. Even Barack Obama. He got his swagger, but when he was young, he was a nerd. Barry was a nerd. Call it what it is. But let me put this thing in your ear. Though I call these people out, it reminds us, particularly now in society, that people have a place in society wherever you go and whatever you do. I say, good or bad, you have a place in society. It's just what you decide to do with your opportunity and your existence that's really, really important. Because there's a thing about teasing people. There's a thing about bullying people. One thing I will say about when I used to give nerds a hard time is I didn't allow them to get beaten up. I didn't allow for people to bully them. I felt like you could talk back to whoever's giving you a hard time, but you can't. We didn't let people lay hands on them because you know what? They were people. And to my friend, my good friend who helped me through chemistry in high school, I say thank you. Because despite the fact all of us were wretched back then and we made jokes, he understood that in a very, very, very nuanced way, we were hurting. We weren't smart. And some of the guys, when we tease folk, it was to make up for things that were inaccurate with us or inadequate with us. And so when I look at the Steve Urkel, I actually like Steve Urkel because when you watch that show, he was funny, but he was funny and smart. Not that I wanted to have suspenders on and my shoes jacked up, but if you take that away, you can't get away from the intellect that these guys have. Even the show with Sheldon, I can't remember that, whatever that show is. Help me out, somebody. That dude, even though he's funny, he's smart. And as a comedian, I've had the blessing of running across some people who were extremely nerdy, but extremely funny. And in that space, we found friendships, we found partnerships, just the same as in high school. Now, I'm bringing that up too because we had a situation where there's some people who were quote unquote nerds, but they were bullied. They were bullied. They weren't encouraged. They were ostracized. They were demonized. And sadly, some of them wound up striking back. That happened in Kenosha. The young man that shot that rifle and killed 2 people and shot another person, he was a nerd. And the one thing about when you're not attached to any group, you will sadly attach to any group. So I'm not saying it, Make America Great Again group or Blue Lives Matter group, but they were always looking for a home, and he was looking for a home. And so it's in my mind, what if somebody had a kind word? What if somebody asked him how their day was? What if somebody said, hey, come over my house? Now, my mother's a rough, she's a gangster. She's an OG. And I had to, this is in elementary school years ago. They had a raffle. They had a raffle. And the raffle, little prizes. And my mom paid like $2. And the prize was I got to spend the afternoon with a woman named Miss Ross. Miss Ross was a music teacher. Miss Ross was a music teacher. And I'm here to tell you guys, I did not like Miss Ross's class. I ain't like nothing about Miss Ross. And for elementary school, to be in elementary school, I caused that woman a whole lot of pain and misery. I made more jokes than I should. You know why? Because even Miss Ross, as an adult, to me, she was a nerd. She used to make us do these things with maracas and marimbas and hitting drums. And I realized, I didn't like it because it wasn't music to me. We were in the 70s. You know what I'm talking about. Al Green, how can I mean this broken man? She didn't know nothing about Al Green. I was through with her. I was like, you know nothing about the Jackson 5? She's like, who's that? I was like, this woman, she has no idea about music. But you see, that's coming from a child perspective. My mother won this raffle, and the raffle was had to spend the afternoon with Miss Ross. And my mother said, you were going. I was like, I thought you loved me. She said, no, you were going. And I didn't want to go because I didn't want to be stuck there with Miss Ross, particularly for all the things that I had done and disrupting her class in the 5th grade and 6th grade. And my mother made me go. And I'm going to tell you about Miss Ross, who I categorized as an adult nerd, brothers and sisters. She was one of the nicest people in the world. And she said, I know you didn't like the music I played. She said, but here's some of the music you like. And she took me to a piano, and she taught me a little bit about a chord. And she taught me a little about minor chords and major chords. And, let me understand why she loved music so much. And ironically, Miss Ross, as well as my neighbors across the street, Miss Ross was one of the stepping stones to me having appreciation for music. She said, I don't want you to like music, Mr. Moss. I want you to appreciate music. And maybe that's a word that's been missing a lot these days. The word appreciation. Miss Ross, I don't know if he's still kicking or not, but that afternoon was a great afternoon. And I have to say, as much as I gave you a hard time, that's how much is when I came back to your class, that's how much I liked your class for the rest of the year. And I used to tell people, don't mess with Miss Ross. She's good people. She understands music. Give her a chance. All the things that I didn't do. So all my brothers and sisters, just talk about nerds and things like that. It's really about class. It's really about how we identify and classify people. You know, you know. Even us righteous people, we even have religion. We have people. We like to say they're nerds. I've said it before. Brother doesn't look so cool because all he could talk about is Quran and Sunnah. I'm like, brother, you ain't got a life. You talk about Quran and Sunnah. I'm like, you know what? Back up off yourself. That's somebody that loves this religion. Just the same as Miss Ross loved music. And I'm going to say this to our community. Get out of your feelings, brothers and sisters. Get out of your feelings, brothers and sisters. Understand other people have feelings too. For all of Miss Ross's and my good friend from DC from high school who's making all that money now for Amtrak, thank you. Because it's people like that, you know what? If you stop talking about them and giving them a hard time, they may mess around and inspire you. Yes, I'll say that about Miss Ross. She inspired me. And I think of all the people I called nerds back in the day. You know, one of the people I called nerds back in the day, guess what he is now? He's the co-owner of the Washington Wizards, Mystics, and Capitals. You can't even hook a brother up with a ticket for neither one of them, probably because I called him a nerd. And there's a brother that went to West Point, called them nerds. There's a guy, he never ever said a bad word. I never heard him curse all the way through junior high school and high school. Smart as the day was long. All I ever had to say about this guy was that he was an egghead. Yeah, he got straight A's. How dare he? It's for any parents out here that are raising nerds. What of you people out here raising nerds? Keep raising them. Teach them that they have value. Teach them that they have independence. Teach them to value their own philosophy of how they see things. You know what I'm saying? This period right here about being popular is killing us. This period about I'm right, you're wrong is killing us. How about moving between I'm right, you're wrong to I'm original? I'm right, you're wrong to I count too. I'm saying this because you know what? I woke up this morning, I thought about my friend. And I thought about some of my friends who are in medicine right now. And I used to call them nerds. And I'm thankful that they stayed nerds. Because you know what? There's a whole lot of people that's cool, but they ain't doing nothing. They were cool all the way to prison. They were cool all the way to being unemployed. I see the cool ones on the corner a lot of times. That's where they've been, on the corner for a number of years. So for my shout out, if you will, and I'm gonna shout out. Let me give a shout out to the Chappelle family in Yellow Springs, Ohio. I just got off the phone with one of my brothers. Shout out to the Chappelle family. Because you know who used to be considered a little nerd? He's the funniest comedian out in the game right now. So listen, I want everybody, as we close, to have an incredible, incredible weekend. Why am I saying have an incredible weekend? You know why? Because we've gotten out of this practice of celebrating the good things in our life. And when I say celebrating good things in life, I mean, they may be different. They may not be 100% of what we want it to be. But I'm going to say that we have to get back to, for lack of a better word, appreciating who it is that's in front of us and what they do and what they stand for. So, brothers and sisters, I want you to have a great weekend. I'm going to try to have a great weekend. Shout out to the Chappelle family. Shout out to my main man, Jawaka Walter. Shout out to my mom. Shout out to my Aunt Maxine. Shout out to Sister Satana. Shout out to Ree. Shout out to John Thomas. I'm shouting out everybody today. Shout out to anybody that believes they're worth a shout out. You know why? Because I want you to appreciate yourself. And I don't know the status of Miss Ross, but Miss Ross, shout out to you too. Because you did for me what I couldn't do for myself. And that was learn to appreciate all the beauty that's around us. For you, it was music. And you taught me with music that it requires a little patience and understanding. And in that way, in a very, very sweet way, Miss Ross, you made me a nerd. And I'm here to tell you, I'm a better man for it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. Talk to you soon. See you tomorrow, inshallah.
Hey everybody, this is your brother Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you enjoyed your shout out show experience. We'll be back with the next show, the next shout out show. A simple ask before you go, please help your brother out. Click that subscribe button, click that notify button, and I'll see you again on this side of the microphone. You probably wonder what that smell is. That's me. I smell good. And the reason I smell good is because I use oils from career-mindedness. So I'm not saying you can't smell good. I'm not even saying you stink. I'm saying you have the opportunity to smell exquisite. Check out career-mindedness.com for some of the best oils and scents in town.